Another common question that we've been asked, which I think we'll have lots of different opinions on from the panel, is about managing stress. So whether you're feeling it already, or whether you're whether it's as you approach exams, managing stress is hugely important, because we know stress is terrible for concentration, terrible whilst you're trying to learn things, not good for your health anyway, but particularly whilst you're trying to study and retain information, stress can cause real issues. So let's go on. Jeremy, we haven't heard from in a little while. So how do you kind of advise handling stress, Jeremy, or even handle it yourself?
Yeah, so it sort of goes back to what Jaden was discussing about making sure you've got a healthy balance. So you've got to factor in time outside, I think is really, really important. Exercise ideally, but even just being outside is incredibly useful. Being around nature, you can be in a city, but still kind of be around trees and things. It's really, really has a positive impact on your mental state. Obviously, again, that diet is incredibly important, again, as Jaden said. And it's about realizing that a lot of stress comes from the fact that you think you don't know much and you're worried about what's coming up and all this. There's a lot of anxiety about what's around the corner. The only thing I can really say to that is the sooner you realize that it's just about controlling the things that are within your control, that's all you can really focus on, all you can worry about. So if you're worried about being unprepared, just do a bit of revision and then take a break and just chip away at it. I think that's the best way for people to manage stress.
Yes, that's fantastic advice. Jaden, we can come back to you on that one. So how do you manage stress now, or do you remember managing stress for your GCSEs?
Yeah, I think Jeremy mentioned a lot of the good methods, but I think, yeah, just rewarding yourself and just not being as harsh on yourself, maybe, because I think I worked very hard in my GCSEs, and I think that was the hardest time I actually experienced throughout all my exams, because I was putting so much pressure on myself. So I think that rewarding yourself and just taking a bit of time, saying it's okay if you miss this day or whatever, and just being nice to yourself. If you're worried about stuff, you could also write a list of everything you're worrying about and then label them in 2 columns, things you can control and things you can't control. And in the things you can't control column, you should just try to cross them all out and ignore as many of them as you can. I know this is a lot easier said than done, but if you try it, it might really help. If you focus on the things you can control and do the necessary steps in order to get there, then you might feel a lot better about this. And I think it's a really good way of dealing with exam pressure, stress, and everything of that nature.
That's really fantastic advice. And that act of writing it down, getting it out of your head, and then also giving yourself, the list of what you're able to do something about sounds like that would really work if someone practiced it regularly and that type of thing. So thanks for that. Matthew, on managing stress, do you have any differs of opinion or techniques than we've heard so far?
I think it's important that students talk about it. So a lot of the time people don't, because they might be embarrassed, or they might think, oh, I don't want to bother that person with it. But even talking to your family, friends, form tutor or pastoral leader or head of year, someone that they might not have an easy solution, but they can offer advice, or they can just listen to what you're saying or point you in the right direction to get some extra support. And I think the process of talking about it can often alleviate stress and make it better. And there's often a lot of people that are in a similar situation, whether they're students or adults or whoever. So yeah, that's my advice.
Yeah, that's really excellent. And we are all in the same boat heading into our GCSEs, aren't we? A lot of people have, the amount of questions that were similar that we've been asked to answer. People have the same questions as you. People have the same concerns as you, whether they're openly talking about them at school, in the canteen, wherever. Like Matthew says, they might not be comfortable doing so, but you are amongst people who are sharing your stress, sharing your concerns. So talking about it can really help, and you've got family there, teachers there, if the stress gets too much. So great advice on that one. Bethan, covered a lot there. Have you got anything else that you kind of use as a technique that's not been said?
I think it was sort of similar to what everyone said as well. I know not GCSE time, but A-level time, I really struggled with anxiety. And as Matthew said, you know, it was a lot easier once I had those support mechanisms in place, but that wouldn't have happened if I hadn't talked to teachers, talked to my friends. You know, it's important that, like, you know, that people are there to support you if you're feeling anxious or overwhelmed, and people do, you know, want the best for you. I think it's also important to be honest with yourself. You know, if you think, do you know what, I actually do need this day off a lot, you know, that's more important than, you know, working through your stress and stuff, because, you know, one day in the grand scheme of things, it's going to be much more important for you to take that break, have a rest, even, you know, just curl up in bed and watch some of your comfort films or something, or, you know, go to town with your friends, have something that's going to make you feel better and more prepared for when you go back to revision, and you'll be, you know, more ready mentally to actually absorb that information in the long run.
Yeah, nice. So listen to your feelings, don't just ignore them, make sure you're kind of acting upon them, and, you know, don't let something build up by just trying to plow through it. That's yeah, excellent, and a nice different position to what we've heard there as well. So thank you for that.